Welcome to the From Wounds to Wisdom podcast with your host, Barbie Moreno, where we dive into people's past and discover what wounds they incurred and how they transformed those wounds into wisdom to help themselves and others. Welcome to the Mental Health Podcast. This is your host, Barbie Moreno, and today I have Vaughn Fahie. He is a voice brander and has been an audio engineer and saxophonist for over 3 decades. He has a podcast called Caregivers Like Us, and he was a caregiver for his mom for 6 years. And that's actually what we're going to talk about today, the hidden truth to being a caregiver and what it really involves. Welcome, Vaughn.
I'm glad to be here. Thanks for having me. This is great.
Absolutely. So, interesting to have a podcast about being a caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me why and how that happened.
The interesting thing, my co-host, Coach Christy, she was a caregiver for her son that had um, a syndrome that wasn't curable, and she was actually really we've been friends since high school, and she really helped me out when my mom had her stroke, and she was able to talk about all the behind the scenes things that I had no idea of what to do medically. She was a respiratory therapist, and she was able to give a lot of advice, to be an advocate for mom, to get power of attorneys, to this is what you say, this is what you need to. And so, in talking about her um, bedside episodes with other families that were losing loved ones, coming off life support and things like that. And it's like people need to really hear about this. People need to know and understand, or at least have the tools or resources to, um, when they answer, we call it answering the call to caregiving. And that's how it started. We just pushed record and started sharing the stories of what people need to know. It's okay not to understand what's going on, or it's okay that you don't have all the answers. Um, and we just continue to invite um, uh, people to talk about their journey of answering the call to caregiving, because you don't know about it or you hear about it, but unless you're a caregiver, there's just some things you just don't relate to, or that you need help with, and you won't ask for that help until you become a caregiver. So we want it to be a resource and solution, um, for those caregivers, that when they answer the call. So that's how it came about, actually on my birthday, and we just started pushing record and coming from there.
So my interest in the caregiving story, because I love talking about mental health, and obviously the podcast is mental health, is more of the what is it like to care for somebody? And I'm sure you've talked to lots of people and you probably have your own experiences, where let's say, for instance, my dad's still alive. I don't really talk to him, but if for some reason I had to take care of him and he
Mm-hmm.
was not a nice human being,
Mm-hmm.
I could not imagine. I would be so resentful having to take care of somebody who was not a good parent to me. Do you have that situation that people come across, or maybe you guys have come across that? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, we've have actually several episodes of authors that have wrote their books. Actually, and my mom's favorite caregiver, shout out to Kimberly, she gave that exact story. Like her mother had allowed all of this abuse, physical, sexual, and emotional, like horrid stories that, through her childhood into her teens, until she went on her own. Then when her mom was sick, she was the only one of her siblings and she chose to take care of her mom with all of that. And she went through a whole bunch of healing, and she would be great to be on on your podcast. But just that, and there's several others. Ellen, we just had her on the show as well. That same thing, very controlling or abusive parents, and then at the end of their journey, they chose to take care of them, and they talk about the reality of no, they totally tore my life up and messed me up, and we've had a total, disrupted relationship, and now I'm caring for them, and I have to deal with the resentment. I have to deal with the all of that stuff that's there in the midst of taking care of you, and maybe even still, we're still acting the same way.
Right, because just because they get older and maybe they have dementia or whatever the case may be, doesn't mean that they change who they are, right? So they were an asshole when you were a kid, they're an asshole when you're an adult, and now you're like, I have to take care of this asshole. Like, and it's like it sounds bad, and people might say like that's mean, but it is what it is, right? If they're not a
Reality.
nice person, yet you still decide to take in the role of being a caregiver, because I'm gonna be honest with you, if my dad needed a caregiver, I would not step up to the plate.
Mhm.
If my mom needed a caregiver, she was not the most amazing person either. I would step up to the plate. So I do
Mm.
think that we have like choices that we make. I mean, I would be very resentful. I'm gonna be honest, like it is what it is, right? I would be mad, I'd be angry, and I would probably get annoyed with her because I'm thinking to myself, I'm doing all of the things you didn't do for me,
Mm. Mm. That's real.
right?
Yeah, it's real feelings.
Yeah.
That's real. Yeah, that's real things. And you're right. People, what they had said when we had those guests, they were like, "Well, how can that's your mom?" It's like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
my mom.
Right.
And
Well, and
uh,
it's sometimes why we even allow those people in our lives anyways. If you, besides the fact that like, if you're going to be a caregiver to them, it feels like there's people in family where we're like, okay, they were not the best person, but they're still my mom, so I'm going to allow them into my life. Maybe I'll put boundaries around it. That's my situation. And then there's those people you're like, yeah, it doesn't really matter if you're like, you're just not allowed into my life, right? But then you take on the role, again, it goes back to being a caregiver, which its role in and of itself is a full-time job, I would imagine.
absolutely, it's a life change.
It's a life change. Do you think it's different than having children?
It is different than having children. That's a great question. Because I moved my family in, and I had moved my son in to my mom's house. Um, and but having children, it's like um, you care for your child in a way because you're parenting them.
Yeah.
In the case of for me with my parent, you're even making a choice. What did my grandfather always used to say? Once a man, twice a child.
Yeah.
And where now you're looking to someone who was your hero, who you looked up to, or or who did care for you,
Right.
and now you're in turn doing things for them that they did for you. So where it's natural, like, well, no, this is my child. It's like almost default where I'm going to take care of them. So it's different because there has to be a choice, and it's at the same time. So it's both up and down, but
Mm,
like they say, the sandwich generation. Now for my co-host, it was her child, and she was caregiving, so it was one and the same.
yeah.
But she also had two older kids as well, so it was now how am I caring for this son, but at the same time, this is taking away from my parenting, so to speak. And so there was a lot of dynamics in that. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it's different
Yeah.
for parent.
Well, it's different, like you were saying, because like, so I think my children are the gift to the world, right? I mean, they literally walk on water for me. I know that they're not perfect in any way, shape, or form, but that my love for them is unconditional.
Mm.
And in the same breath, I don't know that I could say the same thing about a parent, right?
Hmm.
Um, Now I hope that they say that about me. Well, who
Right.
knows, right? I'm sure that they're going to have we all have our own issues with our parents.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, and then like you said, your co-host having to take care of a child who is your baby, and then you have other children. And I would imagine that there's resentment from the other children. And we always feel like we're failing people.
Absolutely. I always feel like I didn't do enough, even to now. And we talk about that even as adults, and even our loved ones passed on.
Mm,
Um, we share about, yeah, we never felt like we did enough, or we didn't do it right, or I could have did this better, or I could have did all of those, the guilt and the shame of you answer a call, you made a decision to care, and but um you never feel like you're like I'm doing this exactly right, or it's like, oh, I could have did this better. And it's daily. It could be moment by moment.
Yeah, I would
Um,
imagine there's moments you walk away and you're like, "Ooh, I could have handled that better."
Absolutely, all the time. You're always learning. You're always learning, and you're always forgiving yourself,
Mm.
forgiving the other person, um, um, accepting that the situation is what it is. Because sometimes you'll be like, man, sometimes you'll feel like I just want to quit.
Hmm.
Um, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not being, you may not feel, there's not a lot of appreciation or the person that you're caring for may not be able um, to say thank you. You may never hear that in the whole, however long that journey is. Fortunately, I was able to, but there's several that never had, and um, you either had to receive that from outside or accept that you did what you did, you gave what you gave, and take it as that. And you hear from other people like, wow, I can't believe how you did that. Now, I honor you how you do that, but you may not feel that way.
Right. It's
You,
like the thankless job.
yeah, yeah.
So your
Ultimately,
mom's alive or has she passed?
she passed. She passed. It's funny because today is actually her birthday.
Oh, happy
Um,
birthday, Mama.
Yeah, happy heavenly birthday. And but she passed on March 29th, will be 2 years. So it'll
Mhm.
be 2 years ago. Yeah.
So, how was your relationship with her as a
Um,
child and then in that situation?
Thankfully, my story for me and my brother, we were really close with mom. Like every day was Mother's Day.
Yeah. Uh,
She was, um, my parents were separated when probably I was in what was that, junior high,
mhm.
and mom basically raised us. Um, and but my mom was very passive, timid, but we called her Mighty Mouse because she was just very, um, just very strong and consistent and loyal in her own way. And but as a child, we knew that we were loved. Mom was always here. Um, she raised us into in church for us, and being, and I always supported our music, and everything. She was supportive in anything and everything that we did.
Mhm.
So, and actually, she caregived for both her parents died here at the house, and her sister and her brother. She caregived for all four of them,
Wow.
and so it was no question for us. It was no question of like, we're not putting her in a facility. We're going to keep her at home, and we're going to do whatever it takes. We didn't even have finances to keep her at a facility and stuff. And it was, we learned of the different resources and things to be able to take care of her at home. Um, so taking care of her it was like almost a no-brainer. That didn't say that it was without frustrations and things like that, or challenges, which there was. But because I've watched her be a caregiver for all of her family, it was just default that we're going to, that's how she brought us up. That's how her character was. So she was just returned on what she planted all of the life. So on her placing, it was like loving mom and caregiver was what we
Mhm.
put on her.
On your podcast, Caregivers Like Us, I would imagine you hear, like we were talking about, stories of mothers that were people who were not nearly as blessed as you with a mother
Mhm.
like that, right? And so does that make you like look back on your life with a feeling of gratitude?
Oh, absolutely. Me and my brother were talking about this. We hear, just different stories. We were kind of someone in a bubble, raised in a bubble. And as we've traveled and grown and involved in meeting with different people, just hearing different stories that were so different from our lives. And we're like, some things I was like, we just couldn't imagine. We couldn't imagine those kind of discussions in the house or non-discussions or, um, and yes, hearing I could definitely empathize, I guess if that would be the word with like, I don't know how you did that and you came back to serve,
Right.
you know, with that. It's just way over the top because I have no, um, yeah, we were very blessed. And we know that. We know that like my mom was, even the caregivers is like, oh, your mom has the dementia, but she's a sweetheart compared to other clients that we work with. Their dementia, they're like,
Crazy.
like you said, they don't change because they get dementia. It magnifies whatever is in there. And
Mm.
if they were mean, it's just amplified. If they were bossy, controlling, and the stories that I heard of my mom's caregivers and people that we have on the show for different things. So we were definitely blessed. But it's another reason why I wanted to share the stories because I know that my story is very rare, like super rare
Yeah.
compared to like others parent, even my upbringing and stuff is just different.
You have a lot of love for mom. Where's dad?
My dad is up in Spokane, Washington. I have a lot of respect for him. It's interesting because he, even though they split, he always provided for us and my mom,
Mm.
even to helping with the funeral costs and stuff. And he was there, so um, our relationship has grown, and him and his significant other, him and my mom split, like I said, very young, and so he was um, he was out of the home. Mom raised us. One book I probably will write is called "From Eighth Grader to Man of the House."
Yes.
Uh,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
yeah, because mom really relied on me. She was very dependent, and I really took on that role. And in several different ways. But dad is up north. We have a very close relationship, and high, I respect him. There's always, you know, just things growing up, and even through relationship with my family, with my son, and um, as of this podcast, kind of going through a dissolving my marriage. And so some of the same things that my dad experienced, it's like, oh wow, it's interesting how I want to make sure things aren't happening with my son and making sure that we're cool and things like that. So uh,
Isn't it funny how life does that?
yeah, very, very like, wow, I would have never, the very thing that I never wanted to do, and then it's happening. And it's like, okay, well, here's the lessons, and making sure to keep the mindset so that it's healthy and healthy for us.
And that's
Uh,
when you can tell a healthy person because the fact that you say, here's the lessons, this is how
mm,
I also view life. It's
mm,
not for me. It's okay, here's the lessons. Like here's the
mm,
I learned. Let's talk about the caregiving part of it. You said you started your podcast because you wanted people to kind of get like an idea of the behind the scenes, right? So somebody with dementia who's not an angel like your mom. Let's talk
mm.
about what it's like to be a caregiver that you've heard and experiences and stuff like that. What are the people who are there day to day with these people, their family members? What are they having to encounter that we really don't know about that is really something that would be very difficult?
Yeah, a lot is the ongoing daily and moment by moment grieving that is happening because one, you're grieving both the parent that you never had that you wish you would have had, but it was just terrible coming up. So you're reliving or amplifying that grief. Then you're also grieving the fact that they're dying, um, and you're caring for them, and there's still the resentment, or if it hasn't, or you're still healing through however you're processing making the decision to serve in this way, you're grieving at a level. And what's happening live is that maybe that the things that you were so resentful for or that affected or was negative is happening right now while you're trying to extend care.
Right.
And it is ultimately frustrating because um, not that there isn't no other options, but they have chosen to care. I'm going to choose to love and care, even though it's not all fluffy whatsoever. It's like jagged, rugged battle zone, painful, hurtful, bringing up things, reopening up wounds, um, making new wounds. And what's so hard is that uh, they've chose to still care and keep dignity as much as possible and to still honor even though honor isn't deserved or maybe even love or the support isn't deserved. They've chosen to do that regardless of what didn't wasn't reciprocal is
What
probably
was not given to them.
well not given them or is not even reciprocal or and knowing that it'll never come.
Yeah.
um
I know my aunt, so my aunt on my mom's side took care of my grandma who had like a ridiculous amount of strokes and like was bedridden for like 10 years. And none of the other kids stepped up. There were six kids. None of the other kids stepped up. They would come visit when they felt like it, right? But my
mhm,
aunt's life stopped for like 10 years. Like, I mean, she worked and stuff like that, but like literally she didn't get to go on vacations because who's going to take care of mom?
right,
Right. She had to always make sure somebody was there. Like she always like, I mean, it was like having a newborn child.
absolutely,
I mean, she changed diapers. She bathed her,
absolutely.
right?
Yep.
So it's like starting all over again, but the difference is this person, again, is not your child. And also they're stuck in their ways. My grandma was mean to her. Like I know my grandma, and my grandma was kind of like a quieter person, but I know she was not saying the nicest stuff to her sometimes. And the funny thing is, like, nobody from my family, now that I think about it, ever told my aunt, thank you.
Mm, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a thing when you said it earlier, it can be a very thankless, it's a thankless from the outside. And and when like she's the one that answered the call and there was other people and they may have visited here or there,
Yeah.
but they didn't contribute to the care or it was very, very minimal. And she was there for mom like 24/7,
Yeah.
managing who's going to care and stuff like yeah. And those that don't come in and contribute, they have no idea. They have an image like, oh well, yeah, all you need to do is just be there,
Right.
talk with her and put her to sleep. And there's a whole nother world of contribution.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like as we're talking, I'm thinking about, in fact, I remember some of the family members saying, now my grandmother didn't have like a bunch of money or anything, but obviously she was getting like Medicare or whatever. And my
Mhm.
grandfather had passed, so there was some money there. Not a ton, but I remember some of the family members saying, like, oh, she's just doing it so she gets the money. And I'm just thinking to myself now, like talking to you, like, what a shitty thing to say,
it was,
right?
it is because the money is not that. I'm telling you, like,
Yeah.
yeah, we got system. My mom was on Medicare and we had Medi-Cal, and I was it's called
Caregiving.
home support, services, and so I was a paid caregiver from the state. But it does not. It does, it's a maybe it's a fraction of what is needed,
Do you
and yeah, it's a fraction.
And do you hear people talk about that? Is that something that people say? Like the family members are like, they're not even grateful for the work that they've done because they feel like there's an ulterior motive to it.
Yeah, and then some it like say if some of the family members like say their let's just say their parents they did have money or there was they had a whole bunch of savings or they
Right.
had things and the person that's caregiving that got the power of attorney now you hear stories about abuse as well, like where
Right.
they drained all their accounts, put the house in their name, and all of this stuff that where it is about the money and less about the care. Well, I'm caring because I'm going to
Right.
get this or I deserve this. But in the cases where that is that, I think that is kind of the what's the image or impression. They think, oh, well, you're caring, then somehow
You're getting
if you
paid.
stop work, yeah, you're getting paid what you did on your business. I had to stop my business, or it was very, very limited on what, my business. And thank God I was an entrepreneur, because if I was a regular employee, be, I would either be fired or I would be laid off, or because of the time, 6 years. But yeah, I think the image, people think that, oh, you're getting well paid, or you're driving their car, so you don't have any car payments anymore. You don't
Right.
have, um, you're at the house, you don't have mortgage anymore. But you have no idea. Yeah,
Yeah.
you have no idea.
It's like being a parent. It
Hmm.
really is, right? Like you kind of have to sacrifice a lot in order to do it and do it well, right? I mean, you could always just keep somebody in a bed and not take care of them. But if you're going to do it and you call and you answer the call, which is what you call it, answer the call. Because I would imagine that those people who are like that, where they're draining the savings, just like anybody else, I would imagine is few and far between. It's not the majority.
Right, right.
Right. Just
Yeah,
like, in anything, you have good and you have people who are not great. Um,
right.
but I would say majority of the people, if they're going to step up to the plate, they're doing it because they are somebody who cares and loves and wants to be there, even though it's hard and nobody appreciates you.
Right.
Yeah.
There somehow, some way, there is something inside that is overcoming all of the hurt, pain, resentment, and knows that this is going to be the best for this person that we're caring for. This is going to be the best for them. And I will endure, long suffer, put up with, but this is still the best for you. And I feel that I am the one to be able to carry that through for you, because maybe I am the only one, or maybe I'm part of a team or something, but normally it's like one person. It's like, and there's just a resolve that I'm going to do this. And this is where we feel it's like it's the ultimate sacrifice, because I'm going to lay down, okay, my goals, my business, my family, in a lot of cases, my sons, my daughters, my siblings, my wife. It was very, for me, it was very bringing, my family into my mom's house, caring for her. Yeah, it put a major struggle on the marriage, and then she was caregiving and for her family as well. So we had like dual caregiving. So yeah, but I was never not going to care for my mom.
Right.
And so you sacrifice all that.
Do a lot of people end up divorced who decide to be caregivers? Do you know?
You know what? I don't. I've heard. I haven't looked up the statistics, but
In
yeah,
your experience.
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely puts a toll, especially if there's not a. I don't know if the caregiving itself brings about the divorce, but if there's in the relationship, if there's not an understanding and there's all kind of factors going in, like because when it comes, it's not like it's planned, and 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 if there's not tools or communication ready to deal with that, can talk through or work through that new dynamic, then yeah, it's definitely impactful on it.
Well, and I would imagine, so if you're somebody who your parent was abusive, your spouse knows your parent was abusive, then you're bringing this abusive parent, even if it's later, many, many years later, right, into your home. Like your spouse is hurt when you're hurt. If you have a
Yeah,
good spouse, right? Your spouse is hurt when you're hurt, and your spouse probably doesn't want the person who has hurt you the most in your life in their home 24/7 because they don't, I mean, I couldn't even imagine. My husband would probably be like, what are you doing? Like this
yeah.
person did all of these things to you and now they're in our home 24/7 and you're giving up all of this part of our life for them. Like that's just a lot.
It is, and I think that's where part where again it really challenges and it brings like for the marriage for like the one to be able to take care of it's either a supportive I'm going to go through with you because there's an understanding of why you're making this sacrifice because again you're answering the call and feeling like well and of course you may discuss it um, my wife and I had discussed actually we were planning on getting renting a home that was big enough to have all of our parents there like we're just
Yeah.
going to have all the old people be in one place so we can take care of them and so it was going in with the understanding but I think the dynamics change but if there's a conversation if there's an understanding and it's like at some point or even right away it's like I just feel I have to do this so either the spouse is would become supportive of that or learn to be because so it's also they answer the call too because they're part of with
Right.
you
Yeah.
and that's a whole
It's a whole different thing because you specifically said there was no way you weren't going to take care of your mom, right? So if your spouse, and let's just again, let's take the scenario away that you're a different person, not a lot of people have an amazing mother, right? So let's your spouse, you're like, there's no way I'm not going to take care of my mother. And your spouse is just like not the person like you, isn't somebody who would be called to be a caregiver, which I imagine majority of people, again, I would say are not called to be caregivers. So
Mhm,
even if one spouse is called to be the caregiver, most likely they're married to somebody or in a relationship with somebody who is not, right?
mhm,
We
mhm,
usually marry our opposite.
mhm,
And
mhm.
so yeah, I mean, like it changes that entire relation. I can't imagine that it doesn't put even in a healthy relationship, I can't imagine
Yeah,
it doesn't put a lot of strain on it. You know what I mean? Like
absolutely.
financial strain, emotional strain. There's only so much time in the day. You have other people in the household who need your attention. You feel like you're failing all of the time because you can't get to everybody and everybody else's needs. You're not taking care of your own needs, so you're probably exhausted. You're probably worn down. You're probably becoming unhealthy. Is this all true?
Yeah, yeah. It's a poll, and if you're not getting the support or encouragement, and then it's like, oh well, now you're failing in all areas. Okay, well, oh man, my son, I'm neglecting time with my son. I'm neglecting time with my wife. I'm paying all attention to my mom that's here, and now they're off doing other things. I still have to bring income in. I still, there's still a whole life that was before instantly adding on. And so the person you're right, finances and stuff. So, okay, well, what do we agree? You know, it has to be all renegotiated. Well, extra stuff that was here. And I mean, she can't eat. She needs to be fed. She can't be left alone. She has to be 24/7. So we have to get someone to come in. That's a cost. That's an expense, for us to go out to eat
Right.
or have a day at Disneyland or something. So yeah, there's all kind of factors that immediately come in and change the life. And if you don't have or use the tools to work through that, and that's one of the main reasons. Another reason with the podcast is like these are tools that when this comes up, if you may not have readily answers or people to talk to, or even you can't really research this quickly on Google.
Right.
What do you do when your spouse and caregiving,
Right.
so
And you're preparing for somebody's death.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, that's exactly what's going on, right? Like, sadly, you are now preparing for somebody's death. So you're doing all of this work
yep,
knowing that. So, like, it's different when you're raising kids because you're preparing for them to go into the world.
right, for their leaving on
Right,
their
for
own.
them leaving the
Mhm.
nest and them excelling and them finding their own life. And there's beautiful joy of giving them the tools to find this beautiful life, right? But this is the opposite. You're preparing for this person to go and leave you and to
For their
die and then
parents,
to not ever to be able to for them to say, like when your kids leave and then they have a life and you get to see the beauty that comes from their life and they have children and you get to meet your grandchildren and you get to go through all of these different things, there is a reward.
right,
But
right,
there's no reward at the end of this. There is a loss of somebody in your life, whether you had a good relationship or a bad relationship. If you stepped up to be their caregiver, you obviously loved them at some point in your
right,
life. And
right.
so you are preparing to lose somebody that you loved.
Yeah, yeah. You're preparing to lose them. You don't know when um, It could be any day. In a lot of situations, it could be any day. It can be sometimes you wish it was today,
Yeah.
and it's another 10 years.
Yeah, because it could
And
be very long.
yeah, long term. Um, and it could be like that, I thought mom, she didn't die from dementia. It was another complication. Actually, she had a heart attack. And so it was something totally different
Mhm.
from what the ailment was. And so it was somewhat sudden. We weren't expecting it. We were expecting like okay, this is going to be the way of life for
Right.
as long as she's going to, be alive, because she was healthy, so to speak, and she was actually getting better,
With the dementia.
with the dementia, but she was, more active. Yeah, she was becoming forgetful, but she was able to walk. She was able to eat four foods. Where when she had the stroke, she wasn't able to swallow. Had to eat pureed food. So there was like improvement on one side, but memory was going the other way, and it was just a readjusting to who the new person was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so long term, you don't but you are preparing. I mean, she's elderly,
Right.
so this isn't going to be
A happy
forever.
ending. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to end, and you do need to prepare for the end. And and you're right. So when the end does come, what does that look like?
Yeah.
Where where are you at? All of that good stuff. So it's
Are a lot of people in need of therapy or do they have PTSD after all of this stuff?
absolutely, absolutely. In major ways, some of the things that we've already talked about, but like when they do pass and you feel, wow, I could have did. One thing about caregivers is that we emphasize that you do the best you can with what you have and what you know. Um, and after the passings, and even after, we call it, after our assignment's over.
Yeah.
So my co-host and I, we're, both of our loved ones have passed, but the first thing afterwards is like, well, who am I now? Who is Vaughn, who is no longer the assignment of caregivers done? And yes, I have to start all over again,
Yeah.
but now I'm starting over with whatever I just went through, and it's a brand new, fresh. It's not clean, but it's a brand new, fresh, start, and picking up the pieces. And I'm no longer. My co-host, Christy, talks about her. She's waking up in the middle of the night. Like, I don't no longer have to check on my son who may die at any minute. Is he breathing? The routines that we build in caregiving of making sure they haven't died yet, or making sure that they're got their prescription, or their breathing routine, or whatever it is, that stops. And so yeah, there's um,
And usually abruptly it stops. So it's not like you can even prepare for it, right? It's just kind of abrupt.
oh, yeah,
Right.
you never know. You don't know when that's going to be, and when it happens, and it's like break stop there, but the momentum of everything is still still rolling, and your mindset. And now then you have to deal with, okay, preparing for, ceremony, burial, um, adjusting friends, and friends, family, or lack of, because that could be a whole lonely thing too. It was interesting that my mom's longtime friends, like, they didn't make it to the or say anything, and it's like, wow, my mom was so,
Good to you.
good. And so you're dealing with all of that as well, and but then now you're restarting, and yeah, it's a you 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 have gone through a lot of different trauma, especially with those that um, weren't treated well. They had all of this resentment and things like that. And then also how you were treated during that journey or not treated. And then the thanklessness of it. And you're questioning yourself, well, there's still the shame. Did I do my best? And I did. I actually, just doing it was my best. And then the thanklessness of it. Other family, no one understands or knows what all that you've given and sacrificed, and Now you're starting on your own. So it's like, um, you know in yourself that it was worth it, and hopefully you learn, you grab the lessons from there and use that to now for your life from here forward. You can help others um, go through what you went through and easier and things like that. So yeah, there's a lot of post assignment, we call it, just things that you have to heal, reapply, grow from, and hopefully in a healthy way, and not in a negative way, so that there's not resentment and bitterness. And um, yeah, there's a lot of things to forgiving yourself. Um,
That's hard in general.
yeah, yeah. So you pile all of that on there with, and maybe other people, family members saying, "Well, you should have did this, and
Right.
didn't you
Blaming
have?"
you when they didn't step up.
Like, yeah, yeah, blaming you, and then they want to argue and be the ones that want to control the whole
It's
dispersion
all
of.
done, and they're like, I want to be the executor of the will. You're like,
Yeah,
what the
let
heck?
the receiver like, wait, you don't think, well, no, we all should have it even, and there is no consideration about your contribution to
Right.
keeping
Your
them
sacrifice.
alive. Yeah,
I think that
exactly.
we, like you're saying the word contribution, which is a beautiful word, and it is. And then there is a huge sacrifice that goes with it.
Sacrifice.
I
Absolutely.
can't imagine the, first of all, I apologize for my dogs in the background if you can hear them.
Oh,
I have a
I
big
can
golden
hear
retriever. Okay. Um,
them.
but I can't imagine the mental hell that it would be to take care of a child
Mm,
knowing that the outcome is they are going to die. Because
mm,
we lose children, I think my world would end.
mm,
And I
mm,
then I also know it won't, but you know what I mean? But like it wouldn't, but like it feels like it would. But people
mhm.
lose children, unfortunately, every day. But knowing that you're taking care of your child every single day, that knowing that they are not going to have a future, they are not going to get to go and live their life, knowing that, and knowing that you're preparing for your child's death, it just makes me so sad.
Yeah, yeah. It's it it's sad, and interesting. It's sad, um and it just makes, it really gives a perspective on moments and how precious our moments are, and how precious life is, and how how what does it say, don't sweat the small stuff, like
Right.
how it's like, you me and my brother were like, through this experience, when we were like, we don't care. We're gonna be. I don't care if my job fires me. I don't care. We were gonna be by mom 24/7. It's like, we came up with the term "what matters matters." We really learned that what matters matters,
Mm.
and stuff that we thought that mattered before. And I think when you have, and my co-host Christy could really speak to this, um, because her son didn't get a diagnosis for the first 5 years of his life. Like, he wasn't supposed to live past 5 years old. And
Mm.
miraculously, he lived 30 years. So
Wow.
when every day he could have died every day for the next 25 years.
So she appreciated her time with him.
She appreciated her time with him. It was also him adulting, and the syndrome. Um, uh, it's a slower mindset growth. So even though he was 30, his mindset was still probably teenager.
Mhm.
And interestingly, this syndrome is in her grandkids.
Hmm.
Uh, so she has two grandkids with the same syndrome, and and they're teens now. Um, but she's learned about this syndrome and helps with her daughter. But her grandkids are, everything to her, and she knows, like you said, she knows the path. She knows, like, the timeline, that so everything is precious. It just gives a whole different perspective of not only on, um, yeah, your child, and you know that they're going to pass, so you maximize everything right now.
Right.
And
It's almost
ev-
like other people get to take it for granted. Like other people take it for granted, right? Like you look at people, they talk to their kid and they're like, go play on your iPad. Like, don't bother me. Or
yeah,
they're in the same room and the parents on their phone just staring at their phone and not even acknowledging their kids who's like, can we go outside and play? Can we go outside and play? Like, I'm busy. Or
right,
they're working at home and the kid's like, can you go play basketball with me? I'm busy. I would imagine if you know your child has death in the future, and
Yep.
by the way, none of us know how long our children are going to live,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so, but the difference is she's aware that there is a limited time, where the average parent takes for granted that there is not a limited time.
Right. And I
I
think
mean,
that
that there is a
here,
limited time, that there's not unlimited. Yeah.
yeah, and we never know. It just I think that's why another reason for the podcast is to share that perspective, because those, before we were caregivers, we can at least hear we can hear of someone's situation and really take self inventory about how precious time is, relationships is, what it is. There can be, we may not be the ones experiencing it, but we can hear the stories, and then it's like, man, I couldn't imagine. It just really, really helps us to reflect, and I think to really realize how precious and limited, because anything can happen at any time, and us not.
Anytime, anybody. Yeah.
So it was a reminder so that we're not taking advantage, or just missing out on precious time, which we all tend to do.
Absolutely.
We just do it. So
And do you carry that forward after their death? And then now your relationships, do you feel like have more presence in them because of your caregiving with your mom?
yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a absolute amplified level of compassion for other people's stories and their journeys. I think especially because hearing the other stories and knowing that even though my mom and our relationship was different, it really, really, really gave a compassion for others where it's like, no, that's not the case. And it gave a sense of a sensitivity that whether it was wonderful, blessed like mine, or horrid and horrific like some of our guests, the individual still making the decision for that journey, and that sacrifice, it requires still the same support. Um, it's the same community. It's the same after your assignment's done. It's there's a bond. There's resources that need. So it helped me really to in relationships to um, be very, very sensitive to what other people's stories are, and that it's not my story is unique in its own, but others don't have that story. And
And that's real life, right? And I think this is the part people forget. We meet people all day long and we just forget. We forget everybody has their story. And at that moment, they might be struggling. And if you're just a jerk because they didn't make your coffee the same temperature that you want, you could literally brighten their day by saying, I appreciate you. Or you can ruin their day by being the jerk that they hear all day long because the coffee isn't exactly 100%. My daughter was talking about this.
Mm,
She went in and picked up my ice cream tea from Starbucks, and she was waiting, and the lady, she said that she's like, "Gosh, mom, people are so rude." And I go, "What happened?" And she said the lady that was next to her, like I guess her coffee was like supposed to be an iced coffee, and it was hot. And then
mm,
she turns to the barista and she's like, "It says it right on the label," like really rude. And my daughter's like, "That like poor barista, like." We don't know what her life is like. We don't know if she goes home and takes care of her mother or if she goes home to, four children or she goes home and she's just has a depression because she had a PTSD past. Like, we don't know anything about people and we just are hard on people all of the time.
yeah, absolutely. We have no idea. And if when we take a moment to even hear the tip of the iceberg snippet of something that they're going to, there can be at least some kind of like, wow. I think it brings up whether it's like super selfish or not. Um, because normally like, what do they say? The hurt people,
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
and they're not really open because they really don't care about. I don't care about what your life is right now. Mine is
My
not.
coffee's cold or
My coffee
yeah.
is
Yeah.
hot and it's cold, and I just care about me. And rather than yeah, like your daughter was saying, like, no, wow, they're rude, and that's where we're at. But somehow, not or not, but and uh, because of the journey that I and listening to stories, it's like I can make a choice that each day, if I can synergize, if I can partner with, if I can go alongside with, is somehow, whether it's my music, whether it's some kind of advice, whether it's my smile, whether it's
Right.
my ear listening something, I have an opportunity to make someone else's day better
Yeah.
somehow, something. It may not, but at least I have the opportunity to.
And they get to choose then what they do with it. But
Yeah,
at least if you're kind, do most people you interview come out like you in a way of gratitude and um, seeing the world in a way where they want to show up as a better human, or do they come out worn out and bitter, or like the people like what's the experience that you have with
that's
that?
that's a great question. I think of all, yeah, I can't think of anyone that came out of caregiving. It's almost like you can't. Um,
That's an interesting thought. It's almost like you can't, right?
yeah, I think it's almost, I'm trying to think of if there's any way that a caregiver, someone that decided to care for somebody until the end,
Yeah.
or even are in it right now, even the people that share, it was terrible. The whole journey was just the whole, I couldn't stand it, but I chose to be in it. Somehow, some way, that experience and that sacrifice and that gave an appreciation and what's the word? And a compassion for other caregivers. Like, it's like, no, I understand. And they and immediately caregivers want to contribute to other caregivers that are answering the call,
Mm.
because they know, well, we get it. And I think I couldn't imagine, I couldn't see you going through that, even through whatever hell that you went through. And the reason why I say that is because of, like, Kimberly and Ellen, and there's several other caregivers that are like, they wrote books about how
How bad it was.
how bad it was,
Yeah.
and even still, they wrote a book about it so that they can share, one, that, hey, yes, you can do the sacrifice, and it wasn't all love and hugs, and I'm, got my halo on, and I'm good Samaritan. It wasn't any of that. It was straight up warfare and battlegrounds and resentment, and I had to do a lot of healing. And but yet, I'm still glad that I went through it. It
Mhm.
wouldn't be any other way.
Makes me want to call my aunt and say thank you.
Oh, you know what? That would be. She might even break down,
Mhm.
because for someone to get it, and
Mhm.
then say, you know what, wow. We hear that a lot too. Like, other people were like, when they've had friends when they were caregiving, it's like, well, can't you just, let your mom, blah blah blah. It's like, no, you don't understand. And then years later, when they became caregivers, they called back and said, you know what,
I get it.
I had no idea, and how you were doing all of that. Now, thank you. Yeah, she would. That would be very, 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 very touching.
I love that. Thank you for enlightening us in that so that we can be grateful to those that do sacrifice and do this and step up to the plate and make this part of their journey. Um,
Mm.
I would love for people who this touched to be able to listen to everybody's stories and maybe there are people who really need the support and they feel alone. So can you give us information on how people can find your podcast?
Yeah, we made it real simple. Caregivers Like Us, and the website is caregiverslike.us. So,
Mm.
Caregivers Like Us, and it's the podcast on any of the platforms, Spotify, um, Apple, and all of that. But if you go to Caregivers Like Us, caregiverslike.us, we find resources there, and all of the episodes you can push play there. And yeah, we'd love to hear. We're always open for people to share their stories, their journeys, or services that they offer. Like, can't wait to have you on to share about mental health, because that's a real thing
Mm.
that is
There's real
necessary.
tools.
There's real tools. Yeah.
There's real tools. The brain does change when you go through these types of things, and you have to be able to find tools to help you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What
Absolutely.
what's Bond's future?
Ooh, great
No
future.
crystal ball, no crystal ball, just what does Bond want for himself?
You know what? I want and it's funny because the workshop that I was doing was about that, about, what's immediately my word for the year is strategy.
Mm,
And I just had my birthday, so I am now 54 word years old. That's my
mm.
I'm 54 word this year.
Happy belated.
Thank you. And what I'm for me is more of being able to impact, more of being able to speak and share like this, being able to impact, educate, and support and help caregivers, ultimately, but also others. Just in my music, it's healing. My instrumental music. So more music into the souls to uplift things like that. Um, um, More authors to help them get their voice out as the voice brand, and helping them to self narrate. That I want to contribute in a what do you want to call it, exponential way that has been in the past. So I'm looking forward to um, healthy collaborative relationships, um, and being able to make impact for what I was designed, further what I was designed to do and to be.
And what is one way you've decided you can take care of you? This is not work related. This is not
Mhm.
family related, dad roles, all these different things. But what is Vaughn going to do to take care of Vaughn?
Ooh, that's a great.
Always go out, like we either go big,
Uh-huh.
we go, how do we take care of other people? But do you notice
Right.
that we never say, how do we can take care of myself?
That is that is good. Um,
Mm.
I I'm I'm being selective on how I share. Uh, I'm I'm gonna self honor.
Love that.
Self honor. I have up to now lived a lot where pleasing other people, not in a bad way, but pleasing, serving other people. And I'm going to self honor and um, really do the things that Vaughn likes to do. I think this year whether I book it, my dream is I love castles. I'm fascinated with castles and lighthouses. So I was born in Germany and I haven't been back since. So I want to go to Germany. I want to go to the Porsche, which is the Volkswagen factory there.
Mhm.
I want to drive the Autobahn. Um, I want to visit castles, and I want to go down the European river cruises, from Prague down the Danube. And that's what I'm looking forward to. I mean, it may be going this year, or at least booking it this
Yeah.
year. Yeah.
So from one person to another who also has big dreams like you, I would say go. Don't book it, go. And also, I
Okay.
have a contact at Porsche, so remind me, and
Uh,
we'll see if I can help you with that.
Absolutely.
I mean, if we can help each other make each other's dreams come true, that's what it's all about, right?
Absolutely. It's who knows you, not who you know, is what I always.
Who knows you?
I love it.
Never heard of that. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Give us your podcast one more time for everybody.
Caregivers Like Us. So caregiverslike.us is the website, and you can look under that name. And my co-host is Coach Christy. And yeah, come on and take a part and listen. Thanks so much for this opportunity.
Yeah, loved having you on, and I hope that others do find your podcast and that it helps those it's meant to help.
Absolutely.
Thank
I
you, Val.
appreciate it. Thanks, Barbie.